Bernardus Abt12.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bites and Booze Reviews. I've got one here that was sort of requested, sort of recommended by some subscribers. Thank you everyone who did that. This is the Bernardus 12, and apparently this is a really special one. And the reason it's, well, reasonably special is because it shares a lot, or some, I will say, of the characteristics of the Westvleteren 12. Now, if you've not heard of the Westvleteren 12, that is an almost legendary Belgian beer, which is brewed in small batches, and it's basically first come, first serve. It's almost like the Verdant stuff, you know, the heady topper. It's like that, limited, brewed in small batches. Once it's gone, and apparently it tastes amazing. Well, here's the thing. Bernardus used to brew some of the Westvleteren stuff under license, and they use the same yeast that they use in the Westvleteren 12. They use that in there, so that is a very good start, in my opinion. Of course, the Bernardus Brewery, they're based in a place called, I think it's Vat12, which is in Flanders or West Flanders, and it's got quite a good reputation. I've reviewed quite a few of their beers and they've all been reasonably good. The Vit beer was really nice. That really did stand out, and I thought that was a great beer. But they do some others as well, and I've done the I think it's the 8, and I think the 12 is the only outstanding one, and it's the one that everyone was recommending. So here I am. And this is their flagship beer, so I've really been slack on that front, so I do apologise for that, but here we are now, and I'm going to try it now. It's a quadruple. Now, quadruples, you've got what's called blondes, you can call them singles, etc. It is all to do with the ABV. So you can imagine a single is quite low in ABV, which it is. The blondes, they're not normally called singles now, they're called, you know, just the blonde ales or whatever. The doubles, they're reasonably strong. The triples, you know, you're sort of talking between 8%, around that mark, 7 and 8%. The quadruples are like 10% and more. And this, of course, is 10%. Now, I have tried some really good quadruples, and there is one, and I still think I've got the bottle here somewhere. That one, that Brave and Apostle. That was absolutely gorgeous, and that is a quadruple as well. That is that 10 or 12%? Yeah, that was 10% as well. So that was a quadruple. That was superb. I absolutely love that. And I'll recommend that. I'm going to put this back on a shelf before I do some damage. But yeah, and this is 10% as well. And this is brewed from a recipe from 1946. So it's been going a few years. And of course, as I mentioned before, this was brewed under license from the there was beer brewed under license from the Westvleteren Brewery in the Bernardus Brewery in Vat12, I think it's pronounced. And they still use the yeast in there, the same yeast that's used in the Westvleteren, as I just mentioned. So that's pretty good. And I've, you know, as I say, I've heard some really good stories about this, and I've heard some really good, you know, things about the flavours that you get from this. So let's stop guessing and let's get this open. Right. Wow, there is a lot of smoke on the opening. Let's get rid of that. I should have opened it. I should have just told you what it was, didn't I? What a twat. How are we going to do this? Because I've opened it too early. Because I'm a fucking idiot. Well, I'll quickly go over what it is. It's a 330ml bottle. It's 10%. This is brewed with water that is slightly salty. That's the difference between this and a lot of other Belgian quadruples. And it also contains Kent Goldings for the aroma, Hallertau hops for the flavouring, and Magnum hops for the bittering. It also contains candy sugar as well, which I'm assuming is been put in there for the secondary fermentation. Candy sugar, of course, is caramelised, unrefined beet sugar, which is used in quite a lot of the doubles, sometimes in the triples and in the quadruples. It basically is put into the bottles along with some yeast as well, and what it does, it creates more carbonation, and it will up the ABV, and it will also, of course, make this bottle fermented. So yeah, so the ABV could be even higher. It's got a shelf life of 3 years, so after 3 years, this could be, you know, way above 10%. So go easy, boys and girls. Anyway, let's get it in a glass. Yeah, I'm gutted I opened that a bit earlier. I should have done it in the right order. See, and look, this is bearing out what I said about the candy sugar and the carbonation. You find this a lot. You have to do that because of the huge the huge ABV, which will dissipate the head, or make the head dissipate quite quickly. We'll just have a quick shifty on what we're getting out of the nose. Wow, fucking hell, that smells gorgeous. Sweet caramel. Well, that is sung by Neil Diamond. Oh, it smells absolutely gorgeous. I just want to get the rest in there. But yeah, I'm getting the usual dried fruit, toffee and caramel malt, sweet toffee. Wow, that is pungent. And it smells really good. Look at the head on that, that is amazing. On a 10% beer, that really does stand out. Now I want to drink this for a head, so I'm not going to keep fucking gassing while this is dissipating before my eyes. There it is in the glass. Dark, very dark ruby. Ton of dried fruit, caramel, sweet caramel. Little touch of toffee malt on there, but typically Belgian. Anyway, let's stop gassing. Let's get this down the hatch. Good elf. Oh, fucking hell. The spirit alcohol on this. God, warming. This is almost like a. It's almost like a spirit. Very complex indeed. Masses and masses of spirit alcohol. Now this was in the fridge for about 10 minutes. It should have been in there a little bit longer, but it's slightly, I wouldn't say it's warm, but it's just dropping off being chilled. And that spirit alcohol is dominant in this, and you got the warming as it's going down, but then you're hit with caramel malt. There's a little sort of touch of bitterness on there, but it's just mostly dried fruit, caramel, sweet molasses, I think is what I'm getting from that. And you do find that sort of molasses, rich, sugary flavour coming from that. Touch of toffee malt on there as well. And that's just in one mouthful. Let me go again, hang on. Banana is coming through on that now, and I'm glad I've drunk this at this temperature, because I am getting so many flavours that I probably wouldn't have got if this was colder. But it's super strong. This is not a gulper. You need to treat this with a lot of respect, otherwise this will fuck you up. 10% if you'll start gulping this down. But it's not that sort of beer. The body on it is huge. And when I say huge, I mean it's massive. I wouldn't say it's syrupy, but it's big. And at this temperature, it's just letting you know that you have to give it a little bit of respect. You cannot fucking gulp this. You really can't, because it will hit you. Again, typical with Belgian beer, the carbonation is there. You won't be able to see it through all that murk, but it's there. It's pushing the stuff around the mouth. You're getting all these flavours. With this being, I wouldn't say warm, but room temperature, I am getting so many more flavours that I would if I'd have left this in the fridge for a day or two and just put it out. Oh, here's a little fact, just looking at the label. Every 1000th bottle of these St Bernardus beers, that fella there, I call him Ian Duncan Smith because that's who he fucking looks like. If you can see that. He's winking. I said winking, not the other thing. So every 1000th bottle is giving it some of that. So if you ever do buy a bottle of St Bernardus beer, always check what he's doing on the front, and if you've got one of him winking, then you've got a bit of a rarity there. But it's just worth bearing in mind if you're a bottle collector. I've got a few bottles here, but yeah, I couldn't say I'm really a collector. My missus thinks I'm an alcoholic, but what does she know? Anyway, back to the beer. God, you can even get that spirit alcohol on the nose. It's just, whoa, coming right up at you. Bittersweet is the best way to sum this up. You got the bitterness from the spirit alcohol and the hops that are in here, but then you've got a lot more sweetness, like molasses, honey, dried fruit. That's what you're getting on this. And I've never tasted the Westvleteren 12. I was supposed to go over this year on the bike, doing a bike tour, and I was going to pick some up, but cheers COVID, that's fucked me right up. But I suppose this is the next best thing, and I have to say this is not bad at all. It's really nice. It is a typical Belgian quad, but comparing it to the Brave Apostle, I really like that Brave Apostle actually, but I drank that and it was quite cold, and I think I killed a lot of the flavours and it made it a bit more drinkable. I necked that quite quickly. At this temperature, you really have to give this some respect because you can feel how strong it is in the mouth. Now, if you don't like that spirit alcohol, which a lot of people don't, I'd advise leaving this in the fridge and drinking it cold. But if you do that, you're going to miss out a hell of a lot on all these flavours. I'd advise drinking it, you know, obviously it's summer now, but it's, you know, in the winter, if you leave this in the kitchen or something and, you know, your house is relatively cool, just drinking it at that temperature, you're going to get all them flavours and they will just flood out, and that spirit alcohol will take you by surprise. It will warm itself all the way down and you'll feel it in the pit of your stomach. That's what it done to me. Really nice, really good stuff. So what's the verdict on St Bernardus Abt12? I think it stands for Abbot. Is it Abbot or something? I think, I'm not sure, I think it is. Whatever it stands for, this is really good. It's a typical Belgian quad. Now these are the Marmite of Belgian beers. Some people like them, some people don't. Me personally, I love them. I think they're great. And this is a really good one. In fact, I can't remember what I'll give that Brave Apostle because that was really nice. I think this just shades it a little bit. But the thing is, that Brave Apostle, I only think they've been brewing that since the late 90s. This has been brewed since 1946, or the recipe comes from 1946 anyway. So I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10. This is going to be one of the best quadruples you're going to taste, I think. Well, obviously the Westvleteren 12 is probably going to be one of the best, but I'll tell you something, this is not bad at all. and I definitely recommend it. But I cannot emphasise this enough. Treat it with respect. Remember, this is a 10% beer, possibly even higher, depending when you buy it. You know, these are good for 4 years. If you stored this for 10 years, if you stored this for 4 years, I imagine that this would be a little bit stronger. And you know, if you drink this cold and you're knocking it back, it could well be the case. You know, depending on what you've had to eat, or you know what time in the morning it is, you could get up and you may realise you need to sit down very fucking quickly. But yeah, aside from that, just be sensible and enjoy this stuff, because this is a beer to be savoured. For me, that is a 10 out of 10. That is pucker. That is up there with the best quads I've tasted so far. And remember, beer is working class champagne.